obeisances our Guru Srila Prabhupada. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 3, Text 18. Vidurasta vipreta dhatarashtam avashata rajam nirgamatam shighram pashyedam bhayam agatam.
Translation. Mahatma Vidura knew all this, and therefore he addressed Dhritarashtra, saying, "My dear king, please get out of here immediately. Do not delay. Just see how fear has overtaken you."
Text 19. Pratikriyana yashaya kutaschit karichit prabhu shaesha bhagavan kala sarve samna samagataha.
This frightful situation cannot be remedied by any person in this material world. My Lord, it is the Supreme Personality of Godhead as eternal time, Kala, that has approached us all.
Text 19. Yena chaiva vinopanam ayam prana priyatmare api jana shaddho viyujeta kim utanyar dhanan divi.
Whoever is under the influence of Supreme Kala, eternal time, must surrender his most dear life, and what to speak of other things such as wealth, honor, children, land, and home.
Text 21. Pitirvrata shurit putra hataste vigatam bhayam atma cha jaraya grasta parageham upashashe.
Your father, brother, well-wishers, and sons are all dead and passed away. You yourself have expended the major portion of your life. Your body is now overtaken by invalidity, and you are living in the home of another.
Text 22. Andhaya parivre purvaye yadhe vadiro manda prajanascha sampratam vishirmadanto madagni staraga kapayam udbhavam.
You have been blind from your very birth, and recently you have become hard of hearing. Your memory is shortened and your intelligence is disturbed. Your teeth are loose and your liver is defective, and you are coughing up mucus.
Text 23. Ahumashi jantur jivitasya yatha pavan bhima parijita hima parijitam pindam adate grahapalapat.
Alas, how powerful are the hopes of a living being to continue his life. Verily, you are living just like a household dog and are eating remnants of food given by Bhima.
Text 24. Agni niristo datascha garo darascha dushtita ritam skitram dhanam yesham tattati ushavi krikiyat.
There is no need to live a degraded life and subsist on the charity of those whom you tried to kill by arson and poisoning. You also insulted their married wife and usurped their kingdom and wealth.
Text 25. Tasya pita deha ayam kripa nasho jijivisho paraiti achito jino jaraya bhashashi iva.
Despite your unwillingness to die and your desire to live, even at the cost of honor and prestige, your miserly body will certainly dwindle and deteriorate like an old garment.
Text 26. Gatasartam iman deham virako mukta bandhana avijata gatir yagat savai dhira uparita.
He is called undisturbed, who goes to an unknown, remote place and freed from all obligations, quits his material body when it has become useless.
Text 27. Yasvatkat parato veha janta niveda atmavam ridi krita haringa gehat pravrajeta narottamaha.
He is certainly a first class man who awakens and understands, either by himself or from others, the falsity and misery of this material world, and thus leaves home and depends fully on the personality of Godhead residing within his heart.
Text 28. Atho decham disham yatu swavir ajnata gatir bhavam itur arva prashaka kalha pumsam guna vikarshana.
Please, therefore, leave for the north immediately, without letting your relatives know, for soon that time will approach which will diminish the good qualities of men.
Text 29. Evam raja viduranuja raja chakshur badhira ajmidha medha Jitiva shesha sneha pasham dradimo nishkarma bharata sandharshitaha.
Thus, Maharaja Dhritarashtra, the scion of the family of Ajamita, firmly convinced by introspective knowledge of Pratna, broke at once the strong network of familial affection by his resolute determination. Thus, he immediately left home to set out on the path of liberation as directed by his younger brother Vidura.
Text 30. Patim prayantam shapala shaputri pati brata chana jukama shadvi Himalayam nashta danda prahasham mana shivan evata shatsha paraha.
The gentle and chaste Gandhari, who was the daughter of King Subala of Kandahar or Gandhara, followed her husband, seeing that he was going to the Himalaya mountains, which are the delight of those who have accepted the staff of the renounced order, like fighters who have accepted a good lashing from the enemy.
31. Ajata Shatru Krita Maitra Hutagnir Bipranna Nadvali Tila Govumi Rukmai Griham Pravista Guruvandanaya Cha Nacha Pashat Pitra Vaishubhalim Cha.
Maharaja Yudhishthira, whose enemy was never born, performed his daily morning duties by praying, offering fire sacrifice to the sun god, and offering obeisances, grains, cows, land, and gold to the Brahmanas. He then entered the palace to pay respects to the elderly. However, he could not find his uncle or aunt, the daughter of King Subala.
632. Tatra Sanjayam Ashinam Praprachato Vignamanasha Gabhalagne Kiyanashtato Vidurohi Naschanitrayo.
Maharaja Yudhishthira, full of anxiety, turned to Sanjaya, who was sitting there, and said, "O Sanjaya, where is our uncle who is old and blind?"
633. Amba jata putrata pitribhaka kata shurit apimayak akarta prajne hata bandhusha bhareya asham shamana samalam gangayam dukino apatat.
Where is my well-wisher, Uncle Vidura, and Mother Gantari, who is very afflicted due to all her sons' demise? My uncle Dhritarashtra was also very mortified due to the death of all his sons and grandsons. Undoubtedly, I am very ungrateful. Did he therefore take my offences very seriously, and along with his wife, drown himself in the Ganges?
35. Pitraye uparate pandu shravanash shurida shishum arakastam vayashnata pitrivauka gati ita.
When my father, Pandu, fell down and we were all small children, these two uncles gave us protection from all kinds of calamities. They were always our good well-wishers. Alas, where have they gone from here?
635. Shrutau vacho kripa sneha vaikalvat suto vira karshita atmeshvaram achakshnano na pratyati pindiya.
Sutta Goswami said, because of compassion and mental agitation, Sanjaya, not having seen his own master, Dhritarashtra, was aggrieved and could not properly reply to Maharaja Yudhishthira.
636. Bhimriya shruni panibhayam Vishta Vayatmanam Atmana Ajata Shutrung Pratiyuche Prabhu Padbhav Anushmaram.
First, he slowly pacified his mind by intelligence and wiping away his tears, thinking of the feet of his master, Dhritarashtra. He began to reply to Maharaja Yudhishthira.
637. Sanjayubachu Naham Veda Bhayashitam Pitrurvakula Nandana Gandhariyabha Mahabaho Mushitam Asmi Mahatma Mavi.
Sanjaya said, "My dear descendant of the Kuru dynasty, I have no information of the determination of your two uncles and Gandhari. O king, I have been cheated by those great souls."
Hare Krishna, please accept my obeisances and sorry for any mistakes it's done. And thank you for giving me opportunity to recite. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Palika Mataji. Thank you so much. So nice. You recited quite nicely. And Vatsal Mataji also very nicely done, very confidently the English. Thank you both so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Welcome all. Thank you so much for joining once again. We're going to let me share. Actually, I'll share my PowerPoint later. Let me just actually share the verses. Let's start the verses first, and then go to the PowerPoint. Because verses we're going to go read directly from the database. So let me find where I am. Okay, so we can read the verses. So text 23. Today we're going to continue reading from the 13th chapter, entitled Dhritarashtra quits the palace or something. I forget the exact title. Dhritarashtra is leaving the palace. And today we're covering 23 and 24, which is a bit better because last few times I've been facilitating, we've been covering like 4 or 5 verses and long purports. And today, hopefully, it'll be a slightly better class. So, 23. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Nashtaprayashu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Sloke Bhakti Bhagavati Maistiki Krishna Swadam Pagate Dharma Jnana Didisha Kalau Nashta Vrishanesha Purana Koduno Dita Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishna Bhutalesh Mare Bhakti Charu Swami Kinamina Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nike Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachari Devi Vishwasi Sulivadi Pashari Prabhupada Ki Jai. So text 23, we'll just recite verses and then we will go back to the summary of the previous verses as well. Aho Mahiyasi Janto Jivitasya Yatha Pavan Bhima Pavarjitam Pindam Adatte Grihapalavat. Go straight to the translation. Alas, how powerful are the hopes of a living being to continue his life. Verily, you are living just like a household dog and are eating remnants of food given by Bhima. So somebody can unmute and read this. It's a long purport, but you can read this. It's one person because just one paragraph.
Can I read? Prabhu?
Yeah, who was that? I didn't. Okay, yeah, Krishna Mataji, please. Yes.
A sadhu should never flatter kings or rich men to live comfortably at their cost. A sadhu is to speak to the householders about the naked truth of life so that they may come to their senses about the precarious life in material existence. Dhritarashtra is a typical example of an attached old man in household life. He had become a pauper in the true sense, yet he wanted to live comfortably in the house of the Pandavas, of whom Bhim especially is mentioned because personally he killed 2 prominent sons of Dhritarashtra, namely Duryodhana and Dushasan. These 2 sons were very much dear to him for their notorious and nefarious activities. And Bhim is particularly pointed out because he killed these 2 pet sons. Why was Dhritarashtra living there at the house of the Pandavas? Because he wanted to continue his life comfortably, even at the risk of all humiliation. Vidya, therefore, was astonished how powerful is the urge to continue life. This sense of continuing one's life indicates that living being is eternally a living entity and does not want to change his bodily habitation. The foolish man does not know that a particular term of bodily existence is awarded to him to undergo a term of imprisonment, and the human body is awarded after many births and deaths as a chance for self-realization to go back home, back to Godhead. But persons like Dhritarashtra try to make plans to live there in a comfortable position with profit and interest, for they do not see things as they are. Dhritarashtra is blind and continues to hope to live comfortably in the midst of all kinds of rivers of life. A sadhu like Vidur is meant to awaken such blind persons and thus help them go back to Godhead, where life is eternal. Once going there, no one wants to come back to this material world of miseries. We can just imagine how responsible the task is entrusted to a sadhu like Mahatma Vidu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Krishna Mataji. Next is 24. Agni Nishrishto Datascha Garudarascha dushitaha hitam kshetram danam yesham taddatter asubhitya. I like the word.
Can I read it, Prabhuji?
Yes, let me finish the translation and then you can read it, Mataji. Thank you. The translation is, there is no need, this is Vidura speaking to Dhritarashtra, there is no need to live a degraded life and subsist on the charity of those whom you try to kill by arson and poisoning. You also insulted the married wife and usurped the kingdom and wealth. So Mataji, please continue. Yes, the purport.
The system of Varnashram religion sets aside a part of one's life completely for the purpose of self-realization and attainment of salvation in the human form of life. That is a routine division of life, but persons like Dhritarashtra, even at their very ripened age, want to stay home, even in degraded condition of accepting charity from enemies. Vidura wanted to point this out and impressed upon him that it was better to die like his sons than accept such humiliating charity. 5,000 years ago, there was one Dhritarashtra, but at the present moment, there are Dhritarashtra's in every home. Politicians especially do not retire from political activities unless they are dragged by the cruel hand of death or killed by some opposing element. To stick to family life to the end of one's human life is the grossest type of degradation, and there is an absolute need for the Viduras to educate such Dhritarashtra's even at the present moment. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Shri Mataji. Thank you so much. Om Jnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Papitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Tadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupa Sagadatam Saganargunathan Mitam Tam Sujivam Sadavaitam Sapatam Parigamat Parigatam Pesha Sepahidevam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Pitam. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagat Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna devotees. So we are continuing to read from this chapter. Title was the Dhritarashtra Quits Home. And we will just quickly recap the chapter so far. So verses 1 to 7, Vidura returns home from pilgrimage. As we know, Vidura left home after being insulted by Duryodhan. And he went on pilgrimage and now he's come back after the war. 8 to 13, conversation between Vidura and Maharaj Yudhishthira. Then 14 to 17, Vidura's purpose was staying with Hastinapur. He came for a particular purpose. He didn't come back. so that he wanted to live like comfortable life like his elder brother. He had a particular purpose, which we're coming to now. And then his current section is 18 to 28. Vidura chastises Dhritarashtra. So remember, Vidura is the younger brother, but as a saintly person, he took upon himself to put the thinking of his elder brother right, which is, so it shows you that in life also, if somebody we know, some family member or friend is going wrong, it doesn't matter if we are younger or older. If we know by our shastric knowledge that he's taking a wrong step, it's our duty to correct such persons. So we've read these. We just want to recap this. This is the section of the chastisement. So we want to just see what he's been saying. He's quite sharp in his words. So text 18, he says, I think some copy-paste mistake here. My dear king, please get out of here immediately. Do not delay. Just see how fear has overtaken you. And he says, this frightful situation cannot be remedied by any person in this material world. My Lord, it is a supreme personality of Godhead as eternal time, Kala, that has approached all of us. 20. Whoever is under the influence of supreme Kala, eternal time, must surrender his most dear life. And what to speak of other things like such as wealth, honor, children, land, and home. Your father, brother, well-wishers, sons sons are all dead and passed away. You yourself have experienced a major portion of your life. Your body is now overtaken by invalidity, and you are living in the home of another. You have been blind from your very birth, and recently you have become hard of hearing. Your memory is shortened, and your intelligence is disturbed. Your teeth are loose. Your liver is defective, and you are coughing up mucus. And then, of course, in today's verses, it says, alas, how powerful are the hopes of living beings to continue in life. Verily, you are living just like a household dog. That's a real insult. And are eating remnants food given by Bhima. Bhima is mentioned particularly because, of course, I think you must have read yesterday. Bhima was mentioned particularly because Bhima is the one, no, sorry, it's in today's report actually, that Bhima is the one who killed his two favorite sons. That's why Bhima is mentioned here. And 24, there is no need to live a degraded life and subsist on charity of those whom you tried to kill by arson and poison. You also insulted their married wife and usurped their kingdom and wealth. So this particular verse 24 shows you who a real enemy is. It is explained in the Dharma Shastra, either Niti Shastra or Dharma Shastra, one of them, that such persons are allowed to be killed. Does anybody know which 6 type of people are allowed to be killed? There's a particular section that explains 6 type of people who one can kill. So the 2 or 3 are covered here. So number 1 is one who administers poison. So it's here. One who poison. One who burns others' home down. So all these things that happened to the Pandavas. That's number 2. Number 3, one who attacks with weapons. Number 4, one who plunders wealth. Number 5, one who usurps land. And number 6, one who insults others' wife. So you can see that they did all this. So this is like the greatest enemy. And by this shastric injunction, such a person can be killed without the killer incurring any sin. So even in that situation, Dhritarashtra preferred to live there in the house of the Pandavas. But as we know from the later verses, that the Pandavas actually were especially Yudhishthira was treating him very nicely. He was respecting him as his elder. And as we will see later on, he was every day in the morning, he used to wake up, do his normal rituals, and then he would go and greet his uncle and aunt. So they were not holding any grudge, which is again a sign of a saint, sign of a Vaishnava. So going into the purport, as we normally do. So here, Prabhupada starts, a sadhu should never flatter kings or rich men to live comfortably at their cost. This is in the beginning of the purport of 23. Such an important instruction, this. Let me just sort out my screen because I can't see anybody there. I can't see anybody's pictures. Oh, how do I change this one? Okay, I've lost the. Okay, doesn't matter. Right now, I can't see you all. As long as you can see the screen, that's the main thing. Okay, so yeah. So a sadhu, you see, the thing is, as we know in the Vedic system, the brahmanas or the sadhus, they are supposed to be guiding the kshatriyas or the rulers. So they must remain at a certain status. They must be able to speak the truth without worry. So if a sadhu was maintained by the king, and in the sense that if he was actually indebted to the king, then he would need to flatter the king, and he would need to, not perform his duty properly. So just to avoid that, a sadhu should never sort of get too close to the king, and a sadhu should always remain in his own position, much higher than in terms of his morals. So there's a nice story in this term. There was a robber. There was a guy who was just a nasty person, and his occupation was to rob. He would go after rich people, scam things, and he would actually take money from them, cheat them, all sorts of things. This is how he used to make a living. So one time the king called a meeting and invited all the saintly persons to his palace. So when the robber heard about this, he's thinking, okay, the king probably has got some good news, and what the king normally does when he's got good news, he gives a lot of charity to the sadhus. So he thinks, okay, I'll also go along, and I will, when the sadhus are on the way back, I will just plunder them. I'll take all their wealth. So he goes there with that intention. So when they all arrive there, so they're of course in the group, there's sannyasi sadhus, and there are grihastha sadhus, the whole mixture of them. So it sits there, and this Robert sits at the back. The king comes to the balcony and he announces, he says, my beautiful daughter is to be married, and her wish is to marry a saintly person. So if any one of you would agree to marry my daughter, I will, together with my daughter, I will give that person half my kingdom. So half of the people in the audience of the sadhus who were sannyasis, they were all in suffering. They all stood up and left. And they said, no, we are sannyasis. How are we going to get married? We're not interested in getting married. And we don't really care for the wealth in the kingdom. So they left. So then the king turned. King thought, oh my God, the choice is getting narrow now. So he turned to the remaining sadhus who were in not in saffron. And he says, okay, now I increase my offer. If any one of you can marry my daughter, I'll give 3/4 of my kingdom. I'll just leave in the quarter kingdom, and you can have my daughter and 3/4 of my kingdom. So all these sadhus, they got up and they said, no, sorry, thank you for your offer, but we don't want to get involved in all this tranject of material life and responsibilities and all that. And wealth we don't need. We're happy as we are. And they all left. So there was only one person left now. It's this robber. He's sitting there. He obviously dressed himself as a sadhu. So the king said, so how about you? you were left, and would you marry my wife? This robber, he looks at the king and he says, no. He says, just now I realized that the sadhus that went before me, if they refused everything that you offered, 75% of your kingdom and your beautiful daughter, and they left and they completely rejected it. So that means the sadhus, having turned that down, they must have something much greater than what you're offering. So I'm not going to take your offer either. I'm just going to go and follow the sadhus and do what they're doing. So that Robert actually then started to live with the sadhus and became a sadhu. He gave up his bad habits. So this is like a lesson. So it shows you that these sadhus in that time were very firm in the conviction and did not take any kind of nonsense. They did not, even this big enticement of having a huge kingdom and a beautiful wife did not entice them, because they were very paka in their vows. And then this robber also, just by having their association, became a sadhu. So in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, doesn't it say, sadhu sangha sarva sastrekaya, lavamatra sadhu sangha sarva siddhihaya. That's the moment association of a sadhu can give us perfection. So this robber achieved perfection just by a moment's association of sadhus. The other thing that came to my mind was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, he refused to meet royalty and rich people, wealthy people. He always refused to do that because, of course, sadhus want to keep away from such people. So there was a king called King Pratap. He actually was a devotee, although he was a king, but he also was a Vaishnava. And he really wanted to meet the king. So he tried through all the senior devotees, all the senior associates of Mahaprabhu, to try and see him. But he always was refused. So at one time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when people were insisting, all the senior devotees, they were saying, please meet him. He's a very, very nice man. Although he's a king, but he's a devotee. Please see him. He's eager to see you. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, no, I'm not going to see him. He said, okay, I'll send a piece of my cloth. So he sent the upper garment and said to give it to him. That's as good as meeting me. So anyway, the king was happy that he got this gift of his of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's garment, but still he was not satisfied. He kept asking. Later on, Mahaprabhu said, okay, I'll tell you what, I will agree to meet his son. So meeting his son is his son meeting me is as good as him meeting me. So this way he met his son, and like that. But he still refused to meet the king. The king, of course, was never satisfied. Then the king actually was so wonderful, so pious that he used to, during the Rath Yatra, he used to himself take up the broom and sweep the road in front of Jagannath. And this was normally a king would not come anywhere near a broom, but this is what he used to do. So. But just to try and get a favor of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but he still didn't. And then one time during the yatra, when the yatra was stopped for a rest, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to take a rest, in a forest nearby, in a garden nearby, not a forest, in a garden nearby. And then the senior devotees told King Pratap that if you want to now's a chance. He's in a nice mood. You go and meet him, but you're going to change your clothes, because if you go as a king, he will refuse to meet you. So he changed his dress, went as an ordinary Brahmana, and he massaged Mahaprabhu's feet, and he recited. Anybody know what he recited at the time? He recited
Gopi Gita.
Yes, Palika Mataji, well done, thank you. Do you know which one?
Tapta Jivana, I know.
Yes, Tava Kathamritam.
Tava Kathamrita, yeah.
Tapta Jivanam Kavibhiriditam Kalmashapaham Savana Mangalam Srimadatam Vigrinanti Yebhurida Jana. This beautiful is the 10th canto, chapter 31, text 9. And this, my Guru Maharaj, Paticharu Maharaj, used to sing.
Guru Maharaj used to sing so nicely.
Very nice.
Actually, when he used to come to the temple, he used to sing. I remember.
Yeah. So he sang this, and when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard this, Bhurida Jana means the person who actually, let me just explain this verse, very nice verse. So Tava Katha Mritam, your Katha, this is a glorification of Lord Krishna. It's saying that your Katha, Tava Katha Amritam is like Amrita, like nectar. Tava Katha Amritam, Tapta Jivanam. It is a nectar for the fallen people. Tapta Jivanam, it helps the fallen people. Kavi Editam, so people who are speaking this, Kalma Shahakaham, this Yokatha Kalma, Kalmash means dirt. It removes the dirt of material life. Kalmasa. Savana Mangalam, it is so auspicious to hear. Savana Mangalam. Srimad Atatam, it is a spiritual message. Bhuvi Grinanti, Ye Bhurida Jana. Those persons, those saintly people who are spreading this glory, spreading your messages, are Bhurida, most munificent, most compassionate. So when King Prataparudra recited this verse, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just jumped up and he was saying, Bhurida, 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 and he actually gave him a hug like that. But anyway, the point we were going to make was that he was very, very careful not to meet sort of materialistic people. But finally, when Prataparudra proved that he was not materialistic, although he was a king doing a duty as a king, but he was a devotee at heart. So that way he got the favor of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then Prabhupada continues the purport. A sadhu is to speak to the householders about the naked truth of life so that they may come to their senses about the precarious life in material existence. So this is it, as I was saying earlier. You can only speak the naked truth if you don't owe anything to the person. So if you're not indebted to him, you can tell him on the face what you want to say. Otherwise, you have to be diplomatic. If a sadhu tries to be diplomatic, it doesn't work. That's why a guru is, the word guru means heavy. Guru has to be heavy with disciples. Guru cannot be trying to be diplomatic. Guru has to tell the truth, the naked truth as it is. Then Prabhupada continues, Dhritarashtra is a typical example of an attached old man in household life. So this reminded me of the story of Kailash. I think we all have heard this story many, many times, but it's still worth reminding us, in case some of us haven't heard it, about this story, how this story, the lesson is how not to remain attached, because there is no end to attachments for us. If it's not one thing, it's the other. So this story goes like this. Kailash was a very pious person, and he was a family man. And he, Narad Muni once met him. So Narad said to him that, you should now just give up your material life and come with me for devotional life. So he says, children are still in school, let them, grow up, let them take over my business, and then I will come with you. Narad said, fine. So after a few years, he comes back, children are grown up, they're already running the business. He says, now your children are settled up. You wanted to wait for that. Now, Kailash, let's go. Kailash says, no, I can't, because children are going to still get them married. Once they're married, then I will be satisfied. Again, after a few years come, children are married. He says, yeah, they're married, but they've got young children now. So I got to just make sure I look after the young children and all that. Then he's got excuse, the business is not so settled. When the business is settled, I'll come. Like this, it went on and on and on. And one time, when Narad came, after a few years, knocked on the door, one of the sons opened the door. He said, where is Kailash? Oh, Kailash passed away. So Kailash left his body. So Narad was feeling, I gave him so much opportunity, he didn't take it. So anyway, so be it. Maybe he just didn't, it was not meant to be. As he was just going to leave the house, he sees the dog just outside the house. Dog's going woof, woof, woof. And Narada Muni, of course, he's a very exalted saint, and he's got all the mystic siddhis. So one of the mystic cities he has, and he can understand animal language. So he can understand what the dog is saying. So, oh my God, Kailash, you're a dog. Says, yeah, now I'm not a dog. So he says, see, you should have left when I told you, but now anyway, it's still not too late. Come with me now. He said, no, 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 no. You know, I've still got to protect the house. The kids are very careless and sometimes leave the doors and windows open. So I want to stay here to protect the house. So come after a little while when they're a bit more mature and they start taking care of themselves. So Nara leaves, comes back after a few years, knocks the door. No, finds no dog outside. So he knocks on the door. So where's the dog that used to be here? And the person says, oh, he's died. So again, now so he lost his chance again. And then as he's moving away, he hears a sound. A big snake hiding in the front garden. Kailash, you are a snake. Yes, I'm a snake now. So now, you know, for God's sake, now listen to me. Why don't you not come with me? Even as a snake, he doesn't want to go. Kailash says, no, you know, I still have to protect them. And there's so many evil people. The business is now doing well. So many evil people want to come and take advantage. So I have to be around here, keeping the evil people away. So now, Narad says, this is enough. You know, now wants to teach a lesson to Kailash. So he knocks the door again and says to the person, do you know there's a big snake in your front garden? And the person says, no, I didn't know. Come. So the children, they take big sticks and come and start beating the snake. The snake is all sort of wounded and you know, suffering. Then he says to Narad, no, I'll come with you now. I'll come with you now. And he goes with her. Finally, he does go. So the moral of the story, number one, is that don't be attached. There is no right time. You know, we always say, oh, I'll do it later, I'll do it later, I'll do it later. No, when it comes to spirituality, there is never a right time. So do it from the beginning. As soon as you wake up, meaning as soon as you realize that this is the aim of life, continue what you're doing. You don't have to stop anything, but start doing devotional service. That's story one. That's the moral one. Second moral is don't remain in your household until you're so old, like Dhritarashtra is doing, and don't wait till the time when the children pick up the sticks and beat you out of the house. Have some sense and get out of the house. Actually, having said this now, in practicality nowadays, before, of course, people used to leave home and go to the forest to meditate. Practicality now is you can't really do that, but at least within the house, if you live in the house, live as a saint. Live in the house without any attachment, without any interfering. So if you're living in the house without interfering with the children and just trying to guide them spiritually, not materially, spiritually, and keeping out of their way, and just meditating and spending your own personal time in devotional service, that is as good as going to the forest. So that at least that much you can do, right? Then continuing the purport, Prabhupada says, Vidura was astonished how powerful is the urge to continue life. This sense of continuing one's life indicates that a living being is eternally a living entity and does not want to change his bodily habitation. So this is like a self-defense. Because the living entity is eternal, that's why he wants to always preserve itself. So when it's identifying with itself with the body, then also it just wants to carry on in the same body. It's like the inbuilt thing for the soul. So it's a natural instinct for the soul is to keep surviving, and this is how one remains attached to this life, not realizing that I'm a soul. I'm just in this body for a particular sentence, and I need to move on. This is due to ignorance because we are identifying with the body. So the material energy, it puts the living entity into illusion of being attached to any condition of life. So you see, Dhritarashtra was suffering, as was explained in the verses, right? He's so ill. His teeth are loose. He can't hear anymore. He's got all sorts of problems, but he still wants to carry on living. So this is the kind of the material and the illusory energy does that to us. So there's a story again. Today my class is full of stories. So Indra becomes a hog. One time, Indra disrespected Brihaspati, the guru of the demigods, and Brihaspati thirsted to become a hog. So Indra becomes a hog, but after a little while, Brahma takes pity on him. Brahma goes to him and says, "Okay, now if you've spent enough time as a hog, now come back." So what does Indra say? Indra is in a pig's body. But as I said, we said earlier, because he's suddenly become attached to this pig body, he says, "I don't want to come. I'm quite happy here. And if I come, what about my piglets? Who will look after them? I'm quite happy here." He's there living in a filthy place, eating stew, but he thinks that's the perfect life. So this is the illusion that we all are in. We all feel, okay, wherever I am, I'm fine. I'm okay. We don't realize that we are not okay. There was in this early 70s in USA, there's some inspirational writer had put out a book, "I'm okay, you are okay," and that book was quite famous. So when the book distributors used to go out distributing books of the Gita and Back to God magazines and stuff, they used to say, "Do you have I'm okay, I'm okay, you're okay"? That's the book we want. So when the devotees came back and told Prabhupada that they're asking for this book, "I'm okay, you're okay," Prabhupada said, next time they say, "I'm okay, you're okay," you can tell them that, "Look, I'm okay, but you are not okay. That's why forget that book, you should take one of my books." Yeah. So, okay, a few more things, but time is running out. What to do? Okay, we'll skip a couple of pages. This is some evidence about the same thing, about the conditioned living and being satisfied in a particular place. A couple of verses I picked up on from the 30th. This is Lord Kapila's teachings to devotee. So you can look them up. They're 335 and 6. It just reinforces that point that we made already. And then the purport continues about the foolish man doesn't know that this, after many lifetimes, you get this opportunity to go back to Godhead. And the verse there was Paunam Janmanamante Gyanaman Mam Prapatite Vasudeva Sarameti Samahatma Sudurlabha. So we get this opportunity after many lifetimes to get a human birth, so we can take advantage of this and get out of this cycle. So do not waste this. And then I was thinking about also, Prabhupada says the sadhu, like Vidura, is meant to awaken a blind person and thus help them go back to Godhead, where life is eternal. Once going there, one never returns to this material world, which is full of miseries. So again, this famous verse, Mamupete Punarjanma Dukhalayam Ashashvatam Napnuvanti Mahatmana Samsiddhim Paramam Gatim. After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary material world, which is full of miseries because they have attained the highest perfection. And the next verse was slightly shorter, the purport. I've just taken one item from there, talking about the system of Varnashram. And it says it's completely for the purpose of self-realization, attainment of salvation in the human form of life. So, yeah, we all know the Varnashram system, the Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa. So the sannyas is to guide the rest of the community like that. So Prabhupada says in the purport, in the closing lines, he says, 5,000 years ago, there was one Dhritarashtra. But now, at present moment, there are Dhritarashtras in every home. So you can see many old people living in the home. Sometimes the children are teaching them very badly, but they can't do. Sometimes the children get so sick of them, they move them to old people's home because they can't deal with them. Prabhupada says to stick to family life to the end of one's human life is the grossest type of degradation, and there is an absolute need for the Viduras to educate such Dhritarashtas, even at the present moment. So that's it, devotees. Thank you so much for listening. Any questions, corrections, realizations? Anybody?
Hare Krishna Mukunda Hare Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisances, Sadhguru. It's a very nice class. Very simply, simplify the things for us to understand. What I understand is that, Vidura is so knowledgeable. He's spiritually so elevated. And I think the people who are very elevated in spiritually, whatever comes out their mouth, it just penetrates the hearts. It's like, sunshine, when the darkness, sunshine just takes away all the thing. I mean, Dhritarashtra was so engrossed materially, and because he's blind from the beginning of the childhood, and so he was really blind spiritually, and
Yes, exactly.
he was very, very blind. So he couldn't see, but he needed that strong word from Vidura for him to wake up within himself. So that's why he just got up. So sometimes we need strong word from very spiritually minded, so that, it penetrates in the heart and makes us think, yes, I will do it. That's why we need our guru. And
Exactly.
without use, word, it's the word doesn't penetrate. Maybe some well-wisher can say the things to us, but it will not go through, because Guru is completely pure. They've completely surrendered to Krishna. So their word will go through our heart. So we need association of Guru. And there's
Absolutely.
many, yeah. So this is what my lesson from these verses. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Palika Mataji. Very, very nice realization. This is exactly right. But what I would just add something to that, Palika Mataji, is that especially, in the olden days, the Guru was always there. The disciples used to live with the Guru. So you had that opportunity to always ask questions and also take chastisement from the Guru, which was his mercy. But nowadays, especially we have in this situation where we meet our Guru maybe once in a year. And of course, in my case, maybe, or just the Vani we have now. But the point is also not just the Guru, but we must always have in our life one or two senior devotees who are like that.
Yes.
So they are Shiksha Gurus, and we trust them fully, and they are realized souls, and we can take chastisement, we can take criticism from them and accept it in the right way. Because as you know, we are human beings. We all have egos, I must admit. So we can't take instructions from everybody. So, but we must have one or two that we can take instruction from, and that way we can always be corrected in life.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Because this reminded me of what Keshav Maharaj was saying, right? Was it Keshav? Yes, Keshav. Somebody sent a clip just yesterday. Keshav Maharaj was talking about how a flight from London to New York is only on the flight path 30% of the time. Rest of the time is not on the pilot has to constantly correct the path because it's moving up left and right, or up and down, whatever, right? So similarly, our spiritual life is like that. We are always never completely on the path. We're always slightly deviating here and there. That's why we need a senior devotee to always remind us to keep correcting our path. I thought that was a wonderful instruction from.
Yeah, I heard that lecture of Maharaj. He was saying that, he was giving a scale where there's 10% people are very, very fixed and they're not going to deviate. And 10% people are just waiting to just go out, not to be there. And 80% people are mediocre. So how do we go from that 80% to the 10%? Where really spiritually. So we need to do few things for ourselves so that we can, join to the 10% who are really pure. So what does that mean? That means it's association, and their words will help us. Yeah, that's it's really wonderful lecture. I kept sending to the people. It's really, really nice.
Very nice. Yes, thank you, Palika Mataji.
Thank
you. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Chandra Chaitanya Prabhu.
Thank you for a wonderful service today. Morning class at the Manor, evening class on Chad. You are a tireless devotee. Where is all the coming from?
Krishna's mercy. As it happened the last couple of times, it happened like that. Even the last class I did about 6 weeks ago at the Manor happened to be on a Tuesday. So this is Krishna's mercy. Keeps me out of trouble.
No, that's wonderful. You are rightly engaged. I think your blessings of your Guru Maharaj are very much evident.
Thank you so much. And your blessings too, Chandrachandra Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Mukunda Prabhu, also, from your morning class, one thing really hit me so nicely. When you say that the yogis get it as as a Paramatma, he gets 4 hand forms, the yogi, but the devotees, they realize Krishna themselves. So that's
Yeah.
really elevated my thought that in the morning so much. I wanted to text you. It was a really brilliant class. It was short, but it was very, very, actually, it was very useful for me. I really appreciated your class.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Palika Mataji. Yeah, for sure, because the kirtan, the kirtan after the Guru Puja went on a bit longer.
Yeah, too much, too long today.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.